Tuck's Takes.
All right, Ross, we'll start with some news that I feel like you've been at the forefront of for some weeks. Derek Carr informs the Raiders that he will not accept a trade to any team.
Yeah, I mean, was there ever a doubt? Was there ever any reason for him to accept the trade? No, there was not. Thank you, Jack. Jack, I think you will go a long way in this industry by praising me. I think that is one of the keys, is just to praise me like that. By the way, Jack, you're a Philly guy. You had an interesting nugget about the turf in the Super Bowl, right?
Yes. So the grass that was used was Tahoma 31, as mentioned in the broadcast. And according to some beat reporters in the Eagles and a little research of my own, apparently that is the same subbreed of grass used at Lincoln Financial Field. And I think you and I can both note that the Link had tremendous field all season, probably one of the top 5 fields in football. So interesting note about the quality, or I don't know about the quality, but the texture of the grass being the issue at Super Bowl. I don't think that was the case.
It feels like when they like roll in those fields or those sod, as opposed to it like being there all the time, it feels like it doesn't take root as much as it needs to or something. I feel like every time they show the video of them rolling the field in, that it ends up being bad. You know, like they do that for the some of the games in London, the footing's bad. Stop rolling the field in. Just stick with what's already there.
Tuck's Takes.
Another interesting nugget that you had some words for on Twitter, Tom Brady filed his retirement letter amid confusion of some other former players.
Okay, so something needs to be said first, by the way. On the Derek Carr thing, what a disaster by the Raiders. I mean, they gave him a new contract last year, all right, which paid him like over $5 million more than he was supposed to make, number one. And then, okay, you're going to give him a contract because you want to control his rights. Well, then you give him a no trade clause so you don't control anything. Now they're going to cut him tomorrow. They would have been better off. Think about this. They would have been better off just letting him play out the last year of his contract, letting him go in free agency, and getting the compensatory pick. I mean, they paid him more money, lost control, lost the compensatory pick. Congratulations, Raiders. You don't know what you're doing.
Tuck's Takes.
Sorry.
Messing me up here.
Well, as for the Brady thing, sorry, I didn't know what to like. You do not. When I retired, I called the NFL or the NFLPA, and I said, "I'm retiring. What do I have to do? Like, what do I have to file? How's the paperwork work?" And they said, "There is no paperwork. We don't do that anymore. Once you have not played for a year, you are deemed to have retired." Okay. Somebody said I read where maybe Brady's doing this so that, number one, the Bucs know that what the deal was with him contractually, because people thought Brady would redo his contract with the Bucs to help give them some salary cap relief. He's not doing that. They're taking all $35 million in dead cap money this year. So this is going to be a rebuilding year for the Bucs. This is going to be a get right year financially for the Bucs. They're taking all their pain this year. Also, someone said that maybe it's a marketing thing, and that as soon as he sends that paperwork in, that the NFL and the NFLPA no longer have the rights to include him in any marketing stuff. Maybe that's the case. I don't know. I'm sure there's some reason for it, but I know this. You definitely don't have to file retirement paperwork.
Do you think maybe he was grandfathered in? Because you said they don't do it anymore. Maybe he's just been playing so long, it was something he had to do because he was around during the former rules. Is that something?
No, because they didn't do it when I retired in 2008. That's my point.
I was saying because it was before, because he started his career, like he's obviously the oldest tenure.
A year ahead of me.
Ah, interesting. My apologies on that.
That's all right.
Tux takes.
The Texans hire Matt Burke as their defensive coordinator and Bobby Slowick as their new OC.
So we don't know whether it'll be Matt Burke or D'Amico Ryans calling the defense. We do know that the Niners have an all-time brain drain every year, man. I mean, they lost Saleh, they lose D'Amico Ryans, they lose Mike McDaniel, they lose now Bobby Slowick, who's considered an up-and-coming coach. That is rough. I mean, that is seriously rough. And it's impressive the success they've had in spite of losing all those guys.
Tux takes.
Titans offensive tackle Taylor Lewan says the Titans will cut him, and then he needs to decide what he wants to do after that.
Ooh, it's a bad one, Jack. He's a pretty well-known player. Taylor Lewan.
That's why Lewan. What did I say?
No, Taylor Lewan. Say la.
La.
Say Juan.
Juan.
Yeah, Lewan. It's not what you were saying.
Well, at least I know what it was. I guess it's my accent. I don't know. Carry on.
Say it again. See if you got it now.
Lewan.
Yeah, that's better. You got it. Yeah, so financially, they have to cut him. They should cut him. He's gotten hurt a lot, making a lot of money. I'll be curious to see whether or not he wants to keep playing. I mean, he's had a lot of injuries. He's made a ton of money. And, you know, he's in a situation now where he's already got his kind of media career going, and it's pretty good. So he could just dive into that and decide he wants to keep the momentum going there. I would tell him if he feels like, well, there's a lot of different factors, but it certainly helps the media stuff more when you're an active player. So he could spend the next year really pumping the media stuff up while he's playing somewhere, maybe even somewhere new where he ingratiates himself with that fan base.
Tux takes.
Brett Favre is filing a defamation suit against Shannon Sharp, and Pat McAfee.
Well, evidently, those guys said a lot of stuff about Favre and whatever's going on with the welfare money in Mississippi. I tend to stay away from stuff like that I feel like is outside the purview of football. And I don't feel like I really have all the facts. So we'll see what happens there. Does not sound good, that's for sure. I guess some of the questions would be whether or not Favre knew that where the money was coming from, although I think I saw a quote somewhere where he said, you know, this would never get out that you guys are doing this, right? Or where the money's coming from. So seemed like he had some idea that it might not have been above board.
Tux takes.
Some big names being brought to the Carolina Panthers coaching staff. Josh McCown and former head coach Dom Capers are being brought back.
Well, that's awesome. McCown, I don't know how old his boys are, but looking at this opportunity, I think he lives in Texas, but he spent a lot of time in Carolina. And I know he was living in Carolina because I think that's where his boys, when he played for the Eagles, his boys were playing high school football in Carolina. So I don't know if he still has a house there or what, but that makes sense to me since he's so familiar with that organization and that city to live there. Capers was their first head coach. So that's really cool that he's back on the coaching staff. And Reich was their first quarterback. So that's even cooler. And then McCown being there as a quarterback coach, I suspect he will rise up the coaching ranks quickly.
Tux takes.
The Baltimore Ravens are likely to franchise tag Lamar Jackson, but they could be open to trade offers, while the Packers are open to trading Aaron Rodgers if that's what he wants.
So these were two things that came out yesterday that some of the insiders had been holding and waiting to release on Super Bowl Sunday to get a buzz about new information. So let me translate this to you. On the Aaron Rodgers one, Packers are open, if that's what he wants, that's what the Packers want. The Packers want to trade him, and they're hoping that Rodgers is willing to play ball because no one wants to pay him $60 million fully guaranteed unless he wants to be there and he's all in. So the next phase of this is probably the Packers letting Rodgers talk to some of the other teams. But it seems abundantly clear that the Packers want to move on, and they're really hoping that Rodgers accommodates them and A, agrees to play, and then B, agrees to be traded. I think playing for the Packers for $60 million is the Packers' worst option here. I think they'd rather trade him and get something back in return. And if that doesn't happen, they'd rather him retire. I think out of the three possibilities, the one the Packers want the least is to have the back-to-back MVP actually playing football for them this year. That's pretty amazing, actually, if you think about it. And then as for the Ravens, first time we've heard any inkling of this. Now, this to me, this doesn't mean they want to trade him, but they want someone to make them an offer they can't refuse. That's pretty clear. That they are very willing and open. If someone's willing to make them an offer they can't refuse, they'll let somebody else give them that type of guaranteed contract. They'll get a new young quarterback for a lot less money and use the draft picks to build around that player and keep their, playoff hope window, Super Bowl window open. We'll see what ends up happening, but that is clearly a very, very interesting situation to keep an eye on.